Inside the searing volcano, the crimson magma churned, releasing an ominous heat. At that moment, on the surrounding stone platforms, the eyes of the great Luo Heaven Army soldiers were filled with surprise as they gazed at the young figure before them. Although the strength of someone at the second grade supreme level wasn't considered top tier within their army, even within the ranks of the great Luo Heaven Army, not to mention second grade supremes, even those at the peak of the third grade supreme rank could never have so easily slain a spirit flame python with a century-long lifespan. The man personally brought by the domain lord indeed possessed some real skill. Many gazes flickered, and the teasing expressions that had once been present began to fade. The Great Luo Heaven Army was the most powerful force within the Great Luo Heaven domain, and all those who entered had passed through rigorous selection. As such, they held their pride. Though Mandala was the domain lord, it would be impossible for them to willingly accept someone they deemed useless. But now, Chen had proven with his strength that he deserved a different kind of respect. Impressive strength. One of the four commanders, a man as solid as a tower, looked at Chen in surprise. Then, a smile appeared on his face as he spoke. He was Iron Mountain Commander, the second commander among the 5 of the Great Luo Heaven Army, and his strength reached the peak of the 5th grade supreme level. Now that he had spoken, even Bing Xin, usually cold and aloof, was left speechless, for the strength Chen had shown was truly astonishing. Don't underestimate him. In the previous conquest battle, he defeated Qin Bei from Great Sorrow Heaven. Mandala finally spoke up, her voice calm. Oh, the 4 commanders were taken aback. They had heard of Qin Bei, but they hadn't expected him to be defeated by this young man standing before them. Looks like we've finally got a young leader in the Great Luo Heaven domain worth watching, Bing Xin remarked as she looked at Chen. Her tone suggested a clear disdain for the so-called great commanders of the domain. But she was in a position to show such disdain. After all, the likes of Su Qing, with their 3rd grade supreme strength, were hardly anything impressive in the eyes of someone as powerful as Bing Xin, who had reached the 5th grade supreme level. The Great Luo Heaven Army was truly the foundation of the Great Luo Heaven domain. Mandala's golden eyes fixed on Chen. For the next 3 months, you will stay here and cultivate. After 3 months, if you wish to leave, you must pass through the 9-9 Flame Dragon array I have set up in the Great Luo Flame Pool. If you fail, don't even think about leaving. If you're unable to do it, I will send someone else to take your place in the Dragon Phoenix Sky Trials. The 9-9 Flame Dragon array? Chen froze for a moment. He glanced at the 4 commanders, and saw their expressions flicker with surprise before they looked at him with a mix of sympathy and skepticism. What is that? Chen couldn't help but ask, though he sensed the situation might not be in his favor. It's a trial personally set by the domain lord. Typically, anyone who can pass it alone would be qualified to become a commander. However, over the years, the number of people who have succeeded is very few. Bing Xin said, her lips curling slightly. With her icy nature, she couldn't help but show a little schadenfreude. Chen's lips twitched. The trial was the selection process for becoming a commander of the Great Luo Heaven Army. From what he guessed, the so-called 9-9 Flame Dragon array would be extremely difficult, perhaps even a challenge that a 4th grade supreme might struggle with. Yet, Mandala had set this as the condition for his exit, which seemed harsh beyond measure. If there were no conflict between him and Mandala, Chen might have even suspected she was deliberately trying to make things difficult for him. What's wrong? Are you afraid? Mandala's golden eyes fixed on Chen, and with a meaningful look, she said, if you lack the courage and confidence for this, I doubt you'll stand a chance when you encounter your competitors in the future. Chen was stunned. He looked at Mandala, clearly hearing the implication in her words. She had once told him that there might be others with extraordinary talents who had obtained great opportunities and cultivated the great sun indestructible body. But the eternal undying body of the world was one of a kind. If he wanted to succeed in the end, it was inevitable that he would clash with other opponents who had gained the same opportunities. He could only imagine how terrifying those opponents would be. So, under the gaze of Mandala's golden eyes, Chen gently nodded. In this world, powerful forces are never easily obtained. To acquire them, one must naturally pay a price. Ordinary people can only witness his dazzling rise, but they are unaware of how much hardship and training he endured for each leap. When Taishan, Bing Xin, and the other two commanders saw that Mu Chun actually dared to accept the challenge, their eyes widened in surprise. However, deep in their gazes, they softened considerably. It seemed that Mu Chen's displayed courage made them look at him with new respect. After all, not everyone has the guts to casually charge into the 9-9 Flame Dragon formation. Mandala finally nodded with satisfaction, a rare faint smile appearing on her face as she said, "Then I'll wait for your good news. The commanders here will tell you how to train." As her words fell, her figure moved, and she vanished into thin air. Her ghostly speed left Mu Chun and the other commanders in awe. In front of a superpower at the Earth's supreme level, they felt as fragile as infants. Once Mu Chun saw Mandala leave, he turned his gaze to Taishan, Bing Xin, and the other commanders. He cupped his hands and said, "For the next 3 months, I'll rely on the 4 of you." Taishan chuckled and waved his hand. Though he looked like an iron tower, he wasn't foolish. From the tone of Mandala's conversation with Mu Chun earlier, it was clear that their relationship wasn't that of a lofty domain lord and a mere commander. Thus, Taishan didn't dare to treat Mu Chun too casually. As for the cultivation in the Great Luo Flame Pool, Bing Xin will explain it to you in detail. If you have any questions, feel free to come to us, Taishan said with a smile, before leaving Bing Xin behind. The other 3 commanders returned to the surrounding stone platforms to inspect the cultivation of the other Great Luo Heaven Army members. Bing Xin, with her cold, ice-like eyes, glanced at Mu Chun and said indifferently, "I don't know what your relationship with the Domain Lord is, but since you've been placed here, I will train you according to the strict rules of the Great Luo Heaven Army." Mu Chun smiled and nodded. "How do I start my cultivation?" Mu Chun didn't intend to try and get close to this ice-cold beauty, he directly asked. "Initially, I plan to have you train like the other Great Luo Heaven Army soldiers on this flame platform. But since you have the ability to handle the Spirit Flame Python on your own, I will take you to a deeper part of the Great Luo Flame Pool. There, you will hunt more Spirit Flame Pythons to obtain Spirit Flame Marrow, accelerating your cultivation," Bing Xin explained. Additionally, the internal temperature of the Great Luo Flame Pool is extremely high. With your strength, you can only go as deep as 1,000 zhang. Any deeper, and you will reach your limit. Also, deeper inside, there are even stronger Spirit Flame Pythons that you won't be able to handle yet. Stronger ones. Mu Chun was somewhat surprised. The Great Luo Flame Pool really wasn't a simple place. The Spirit Flame Pythons you hunted earlier only had a lifespan of about 100 years. The older they get, the stronger they become, and this can be seen from their size. But the most powerful ones are located deeper within the Great Luo Flame Pool. As long as you don't venture too deep, you shouldn't encounter them. Bing Xin, though cold, patiently explained Mu Chen's doubts. Are the Spirit Flame Pythons with greater strength also carrying more powerful Spirit Flame Marrow? Mu Chun clicked his tongue. The Spirit Flame Marrow he refined earlier was from a python with only a 100-year lifespan. If it came from an older one, the effect would certainly be better, right? Bing Xin couldn't help but roll her eyes at Mu Chun, likely thinking that though he was young, his personality was uncontrollably wild. Who wouldn't want to obtain Spirit Flame Marrow from pythons with lifespans of 500 or even 1,000 years? But that required the strength to match. Mu Chun could only dryly laugh at her look. "Come with me. Since you're so confident, I'll take you to a place with better results." Bing Xion's lips curled slightly, and she took the lead, flying towards the deeper part of the Great Luo Flame Pool. Mu Chun hurriedly followed. 2 streaks of light zipped through the abyss. As they neared the Great Luo Flame Pool, the temperature grew increasingly terrifying. Even Mu Chen's powerful physique began to feel a faint sting. This shocked him. As Mu Chun approached the depths of the Great Luo Flame Pool, he finally realized its vastness. It was nearly like an underground ocean of magma, and around it, the abyss had been carved into a complex terrain by the flowing lava. Massive caverns, each bizarre and unique, twisted and turned like a maze. Mu Chun followed Bing Xin through these enormous caverns, weaving through them at breakneck speed. After about 10 minutes, Bing Xin finally slowed down. Mu Chun peeked his head around her and looked ahead, his pupils immediately narrowing in shock. Before him, There was still a vast ocean of crimson magma, but now, spiritual flame pythons weaved through the magma, causing massive whirlpools of lava to swirl around them. The sharp, hissing sound echoed constantly. At a rough glance, there were at least several hundred spiritual flame pythons here. Even Chen felt his scalp tingle at the sight of such numbers. Beside him, Bing Xian's icy expression softened into a smile. She gazed at Chen with her bright eyes, her delicate hand lightly gesturing forward. With a slight smile, she spoke, "Welcome to the Great Luo Flame Pool, Hell Mode." That is, on the stone platform, many soldiers of the Great Luo Heaven Army stared in astonishment at the spiritual energy screen in front of them. Within the screen, the Supreme Dharmakaya, which had previously dimmed due to spiritual energy depletion, suddenly erupted with brilliant golden light once more. Moreover, anyone could feel that the spiritual energy fluctuations pouring from the Supreme Dharmakaya were even more powerful than before. His spiritual energy is actually recovering? After a brief moment of shock, someone finally cried out in disbelief. "He's refining spirit flame marrow in battle," said the Iron Mountain commander, his face showing surprise, before his expression turned serious. "What?" Even Bing Xian was taken aback by this statement. The surrounding soldiers of the Great Luo Heaven Army could not help but gape. They were all very familiar with spirit flame marrow and understood the immense burning pain one would have to endure while absorbing it. Usually, they would seek out a quiet and safe place to focus on refining it. The thought of refining it during battle was so daring that it was unthinkable to them. After all, no one had confidence that they could maintain their combat focus while enduring such intense pain. "That's too reckless," someone muttered in awe. They looked at the dazzling golden figure in the spiritual energy screen, and there was a trace of admiration in their eyes. No matter what, the courage displayed by the person was admirable, and the most crucial thing was, he had succeeded. Bing Xian, whose cold face had been tense, relaxed a little. This young man, Chen, must have something extraordinary about him to be valued so highly by the domain lord. Originally, she had great doubts about Chen's ability to break through the 9-9 Flame Dragon array in 3 months. But now, from his reckless cultivation style, it seemed that the outcome might not be as certain as she thought. While everyone on the stone platform was stunned by Chen's sudden recovery of spiritual energy, Chen himself felt a wave of excitement inside. He could sense the mighty and powerful spiritual energy within him. The strength of his spiritual energy was even more robust than before, clearly indicating that after the near depletion of his spiritual energy in battle, he had made another leap in his cultivation. Although he was still far from breaking through to the third Great Supreme stage, this improvement, under normal circumstances, would have taken a significant amount of time to achieve. But now, it had only been a few short hours. The more dangerous the situation, the more it could unleash a person's potential. That saying had never been truer. The Great Luo Flame Pool, while filled with peril, was indeed a great aid to cultivation. Chen's black eyes sharpened with determination, and his inner confidence surged. He had no idea how many life-or-death battles he had fought along the way, but this small Great Luo Flame Pool did not have the qualifications to stop him. Chen laughed heartily. With a thought, the great sun indestructible body's golden light surged, and the golden palm print swept out, directly sending 2 spiritual flame pythons, whose power could have shattered mountains, flying backward. A blood-curdling screech echoed through the air. The great sun indestructible body stepped directly into the crimson magma at this moment. Then, golden light swept across like a raging storm, madly crashing into the spirit flame pythons, whose group, originally surrounding him, was now thrown into disarray. Every time a golden light fist landed, a spirit flame python was smashed into pieces. However, these spirit flame pythons lacked spiritual intelligence, so they didn't feel fear. Instead, Chen's slaughter only provoked them to attack more fiercely. The screeching sounds echoed as the pythons continued to charge out recklessly. In the crimson magma, the colossal golden figure swung its fists, with the golden light carrying an unmatched violent spiritual energy sweeping through. From within the magma, more and more ferocious spirit flame pythons emerged. The constant killings in this area began to cause the magma to tremble violently. Even the seasoned soldiers of the great Luo Heaven Army, who had seen countless battles, were left somewhat dumbfounded by such a furious clash. Though Mu Chen's spiritual energy was replenished by refining the spirit flame marrow, such intense combat couldn't go on endlessly. While his spiritual energy could recover, his physical stamina was not something external substances could restore. So, after a day of frenzied fighting, as the spirit flame pythons continued to surround him, the great sun's indestructible body suddenly shot out at full speed, breaking free of the magma's range. Within a few flashes, he had entered a lava cavern. Once inside, Mu Chen immediately sat cross-legged. His face was deathly pale, his brows heavy with exhaustion. The high-intensity battle had drained nearly all his energy. If not for his willpower, he might have already collapsed into a deep sleep by now. However, even now, he could not afford to rest directly. This was the best time for cultivation. Mu Chen raised his hand, and crimson spirit flame marrow appeared in front of him. He then gently grasped it, and a translucent jade bottle appeared in his hand. A small, clear stream of liquid flew out and coiled around him, filled with extremely pure spiritual energy. Both the spirit flame marrow and supreme spiritual liquid were ready. Mu Chen sat down again, quickly forming hand seals. His tired eyes slowly closed as he entered cultivation mode. His mouth slightly opened as he consumed a piece of spirit flame marrow and a drop of supreme spiritual liquid. The previously depleted spiritual energy began to gradually awaken inside him, becoming more powerful and concentrated. In the next month, Mu Chen's cultivation continued in this intense cycle. The crimson magma surged with waves every day. The enormous golden figure moved like an unstoppable battle machine, fighting against the relentless spirit flame pythons. Each battle lasted until Mu Chen's energy and stamina were exhausted. Only then would he retreat out of the magma and return to the cavern to enter deep cultivation. Mu Chen's cultivation method was indeed ruthless. Even the soldiers of the great Luo Heaven Army, who treated cultivation as their daily routine, secretly marveled at his relentless determination. This young man appeared gentle and kind on the surface, but his inner persistence and stubbornness were deeply moving. They wondered if they could ever push themselves to the same extreme level of effort that Mu Chen did. Even leaders like Taishan and Bing Xin were secretly shocked by Mu Chen's performance over the month. They couldn't help but acknowledge that the domain lord's attention toward him was truly well-deserved. Despite the immense effort, Mu Chen's results were equally significant. His spiritual energy grew increasingly powerful and vigorous within just a month. While he hadn't yet broken through, his energy was undoubtedly twice as strong as it was a month ago. Moreover, Mu Chen's battle endurance had also improved after pushing himself to the limit time and again. At the start, he could barely last half a day with all his strength. Moreover, with every battle, his body gradually adapted to the harsh, high-temperature environment of the great Luo flame pool. The air, once as hot as flames, now brought waves of scorching comfort as he inhaled it. In the past month, countless spirit flame pythons, with lifespans of less than 100 years, had been hunted by Mu Chen. Even those spirit flame pythons with lifespans exceeding 100 years, the ones he killed had reached an astonishing number in the triple digits. By the end, the area, once teeming with spirit flame pythons, was nearly wiped clean. The sparse and pitiful sight no longer resembled the grand and overwhelming gathering from a month ago. Though these spirit flame pythons lacked intelligence, they could sense the blood of their kind flowing through the magma region. While the blood mixed with the magma, it was still enough to make them realize that this was not a safe place. As a result, the number of spirit flame pythons appearing in this area decreased rapidly. After a month, Mu Chen found that the place, which should have resembled a hellish battleground, no longer had a single spirit flame python left to hunt. On a stone protruding from the magma, Mu Chen stood still, his eyes scanning the surroundings, but he could not find a single prey. He could only helplessly curl his lips. The spiritual energy in the Supreme Sea seems to be nearing saturation. Mu Chen looked down at his palm, slowly clenching his hands. Feeling the surging spiritual energy within him, like an ocean's tide, he couldn't help but grin. But then his brows furrowed. He could sense that his spiritual energy growth had stagnated. No matter how much he refined spirit flame marrow or supreme spiritual liquid in recent days, it was becoming difficult to achieve the same growth he had before. The cause of this was clear. It was the spiritual energy bottleneck. The same methods that had worked before no longer produced the same results. A gleam of sharpness flashed in Mu Chen's eyes as he fixed his gaze on the crimson magma sea. He licked his lips. The spirit flame marrow from pythons with a lifespan of 100 years was no longer sufficient for his cultivation. If he wanted to break through this bottleneck, he would need stronger spirit flame marrow. For example, the marrow from spirit flame pythons that lived for 300 or even 500 years. But such high-grade marrow could only be found deep within the Great Luo Flame Pool. However, the magma temperature in the depths of the Great Luo Flame Pool was terrifyingly extreme. Even leaders like Tai Shan and Bing Xin of the Great Luo Heaven Army didn't dare venture too deep. But unfortunately, this would not stop Mu Chen. He lifted his head, smiling at the sky. He could sense the fluctuations of spiritual energy up there, meaning Bing Xin and the others were likely watching him. He then took a deep breath, no longer hesitating. In an instant, his figure turned into a streak of light, shooting straight into the surface of the magma sea. Splash. As the magma splashed, Bing Xin and the others, standing on the stone platform, exchanged looks as they watched Mu Chen leap into the Great Luo Flame Pool. Splash. As Mu Chen plunged into the crimson magma, a terrifying heat surged toward him. Even though he had fully activated his Thunder God body and shielded himself with spiritual energy, the temperature still made his skin feel like it was being burned. Whoosh! Mu Chen's figure turned into a streak of light, tearing through the viscous magma. His body shot toward the deeper areas of the magma. Though he knew that venturing deeper into the Great Luo Flame Pool was extremely dangerous, he had to take the risk. After all, without entering the tiger's den, how could he catch the tiger? To break through to the third grade supreme, he had to try, no matter how dangerous. Within the magma, groups of spirit flame pythons roamed. Mu Chen didn't want to get entangled with them, so he carefully avoided them, heading deeper. In just a few dozen breaths, Mu Chen had already reached a depth of 1,000 feet into the Great Luo Flame Pool. Here, the magma had taken on a faint purple hue, indicating that the temperature had risen to an incredibly terrifying level. Such heat was beyond what even Mu Chen's Thunder God body could withstand. He took a deep breath, and his mind moved slightly. Dark purple flames began to manifest on the surface of his body, forming a fiery membrane that enveloped him entirely. The dark purple flames were, of course, the undying fire. Although the temperature inside the Great Luo Flame Pool was extremely high, it was difficult to penetrate the protective barrier formed by the undying fire. Previously, Mu Chen hadn't activated it, as he was focused on his cultivation. However, now, in order to hunt a spirit flame python with a longer lifespan, it was the perfect time to use it. Whoosh! With the undying fire shielding him from the intense heat around him, Mu Chen's speed suddenly surged. In just a few minutes, he had traveled 2,000 zhang. The spiritual energy contained in the magma was incredibly powerful and violent, even to the point of being eye-catching. Some of the magma had solidified and now floated within the molten rock like fiery red ice blocks. What was most peculiar was that around these solidified chunks of magma, it seemed as though a vacuum zone had formed and no magma could drop into it. Mu Chen's figure landed on a massive magma boulder, and he instantly felt the pressure around him vanish. The sensation was as if the rock formed from solidified magma perfectly counterbalanced the pressure and high temperature deep within the Great Luo Flame Pool. Indeed, this is a peculiar place. Mu Chen stomped his foot, but the magma boulder remained immovable. He couldn't help but admire the wonders of the Great Thousand Worlds. However, where are all the spirit flame pythons? Mu Chen scanned his surroundings, feeling a hint of confusion. He realized that, unlike the dense swarms of them above, there seemed to be no spirit flame pythons here. Just as he was puzzled, a massive chunk of solidified magma not far from him suddenly exploded. In an instant, a giant serpent tail tore through the magma, smashing directly toward Mu Chen's head. The sudden attack made Mu Chen's expression shift slightly. He quickly pushed off the ground with his foot, retreating swiftly. Boom! The serpent tail slammed down, shattering the magma boulder to pieces. Mu Chen was caught in the shockwave and was forced to retreat several dozen steps, struggling to stabilize himself. He looked up with a solemn expression and saw a giant spirit flame python coiled within the magma. Its size was far larger than any he had seen before. Good heavens, this one must have lived for at least 400 years. Mu Chen sucked in a cold breath. This spirit flame python's body was at least 2 to 3 times the size of the one he had encountered earlier, and judging by its size, it likely had a lifespan of 400 years. A spirit flame python of this age would certainly be as powerful as Chen Bei, if not more. This was truly a formidable opponent. SSSS. The vicious spirit flame python glared at Mu Chen and immediately opened its giant mouth, unleashing a red-hot magma beam that shot toward him. The spiritual energy contained within this magma beam was far stronger than anything Mu Chen had encountered from the other spirit flame pythons, so he didn't dare to slack off. A burst of golden light erupted behind him, and the great sun indestructible body was summoned. Boom! The golden giant palm collided with the magma beam, sending a terrifying gust of wind sweeping through the air. The floating magma boulders around them shattered upon impact. Mu Chen appeared above the great sun indestructible body's heavenly spirit cap. His eyes were sharp as he stared at the attacking spirit flame python. With a sudden gesture, he formed a seal with his hands, and the supreme sea materialized behind him. The sounds of dragons and elephants resonated through the air. Whoosh! 2 dragons and 2 elephants shot out almost simultaneously, merging into a glowing dragon-elephant halo. With a flick of Mu Chen's finger, the halo shot forward, piercing the void. Mu Chen immediately unleashed his strongest technique, the 9 dragons and 9 elephants art. He understood the power of this spirit flame python and didn't waste any time testing it. SSSS. The spirit flame python let out a long, ear-piercing roar, its scales standing upright as it sensed the imminent danger. Boom! Boom! A series of crimson light rings, as solid as physical barriers, exploded from the spirit flame python's body, forming layers of protective shields around it. Just from this move alone, it was clear that this spirit flame python's strength far exceeded that of the ones Mu Chen had encountered before. After all, Mu Chen hadn't seen any of the previous ones use such a powerful defensive technique. However, Mu Chen was confident in his 9 dragons and 9 elephants art. After all, even Chen Bei had been defeated by it. He didn't believe that this spirit flame python, which lacked any spiritual intelligence, would survive the attack. The dragon-elephant halo appeared above the spirit flame python at this moment, rotating at high speed. It granted the python a sharpness capable of tearing through everything. Combined with the power of the dragon-elephant, no one could stop it. With a whoosh, the dragon-elephant halo swept across, and in the blink of an eye, the layers of crimson light surrounding the spirit flame python shattered like dry twigs. Immediately after, a shrill scream echoed. Mu Chen focused his gaze. He saw the ferocious spirit flame python was actually cut in half at the waist. The result made him grin. Under the lethal 9 dragons and 9 elephants art, no matter what it was, it would be slain. Boom. However, before Mu Chen could fully relax, the spirit flame python, already severed in 2, opened its monstrous mouth again, and a violent, unmatched crimson light beam shot toward him. Boom. With his great sun indestructible body, Mu Chen crossed his arms and blocked the crimson beam with his massive body, but cracks appeared on his arms. Mu Chen's mouth twitched slightly. He hadn't expected the spirit flame python's vitality to be so tenacious. Despite being cut in half, it could still put up such a stubborn resistance. That spirit flame marrow is mine for sure, Mu Chen sneered. He didn't believe that this severed spirit flame python could turn the tables. Hiss! Just as Mu Chen was about to take decisive action, the spirit flame python didn't charge at him. Instead, it turned and fled. This surprised Mu Chen. He hadn't expected the spirit flame python, which had a lifespan of 400 years, not only to be powerful, but also to know how to escape. It was entirely different from the other spirit flame pythons he had encountered before. Mu Chen's mind shifted, and his great sun indestructible body immediately pursued. He wasn't going to let such a rare spirit flame python escape. Boom. However, the moment Mu Chen moved, the hairs on his entire body suddenly stood on end. A feeling of indescribable danger surged in his heart, and it was this sensation that made him stop his great sun's indestructible body. Bang! From deep within the magma, a red shadow shot out at an indescribable speed, directly wrapping around one section of the spirit flame python's body. Then, a fiery red needle tip stabbed fiercely into the python's head. The spirit flame python struggled frantically, but within just a few breaths, its massive body withered, looking as though its essence blood had been drained. Chen stared dumbfounded at this scene, and then he stiffly looked down. Deep within the magma, an enormous crimson scorpion serpent emerged. The crimson scorpion serpent had a scorpion-like head, but its tail was serpentine. On the tail's tip was a shimmering, cold scorpion stinger. A terrifying fluctuation of spiritual energy emanated from its body. The strength of this fluctuation was many times more formidable than the 400-year-old spirit flame python from earlier. Gulp! Chen swallowed nervously, his palm cold. He hadn't expected such a terrifying, mysterious scorpion serpent to be hiding deep within the magma. No wonder there were no spirit flame pythons in this area. The cold, emotionless eyes of the crimson scorpion serpent turned and fixed on Chen. Within those eyes, there was no intelligence, only pure slaughter and rage. Chen took a deep breath, and in the next instant, his great sun's indestructible body vanished into thin air. His figure shot backward like a ghost. The terrifying power of the crimson scorpion serpent was something Chen knew he couldn't withstand at his current level. He understood that if he didn't run now, his fate would be the same as the spirit flame pythons. Although he was reluctant to give up the 400-year-old spirit flame marrow, in comparison, his life was more important. Chen fled desperately. He originally intended to escape upward, but the suspended solidified magma became the biggest obstacle, forcing him to abandon that plan and opt for a straight-line escape. As he desperately ran, Chen glanced back over his shoulder. The sight made cold sweat pour down his forehead because he saw the mysterious scorpion serpent swiftly skimming over the magma, quickly chasing after him. Clearly, this massive creature had no intention of letting him escape as its prey. Bastard! Chen gritted his teeth and cursed. Chen pushed his speed to the limit, desperately fleeing, while behind him, the terrifying crimson dragon scorpion pursued closely. Killing intent spread throughout the depths of the magma, and the roles of hunter and prey subtly shifted. Boom! Deep beneath the crimson sea of magma, the molten rock was violently torn apart by the overwhelming speed, causing a thunderous crash. Amidst the roar, a shadow, enveloped in dark purple flames, raced through the air. Not far behind that frantic, fleeing shadow, the magma split apart, and a massive, ferocious crimson dragon scorpion emerged, tearing through the magma at an astonishing speed, relentlessly chasing after. Though the crimson dragon scorpion was enormous, its speed was ghostly fast, sending a chill down one's spine. This chase was, of course, between Chen and the mysterious dragon scorpion. At this moment, Chen's face was ashen. He never expected his luck to be this bad. Just as he entered the depths of the great Luo flame pool, he directly ran into the territory of this mysterious dragon scorpion. Looking at the current situation, he was no longer thinking of hunting any other spirit flame pythons. The best he could hope for now was to avoid being hunted down by this mysterious dragon scorpion. Escape first. Chen gritted his teeth, his speed surged again. He could feel the immense pressure coming from behind, realizing that the mysterious dragon scorpion was absolutely something he could not contend with at his current level. Hiss! As Chen accelerated in his escape, the mysterious dragon scorpion showed no rush. Instead, it let out a relaxed-sounding hiss, clearly considering Chen as its prey. The two of them, one man, one dragon scorpion, rushed through the depths of the great Luo flame pool, and along the way, they encountered many spirit flame pythons. However, as soon as these pythons sensed the pressure coming from the mysterious dragon scorpion behind, they fled in all directions. This scene made Chen's heart chill, further proving the extraordinary nature of this dragon scorpion. Why did he have to provoke such a dominant creature just by arriving? Chen felt as though he could cry, but before he had time to lament his bad luck, a sharp wind-splitting sound suddenly came from behind. His entire body froze, and his hair stood on end. From the corner of his eye, he saw a red light streaking towards him, a scorpion tail tip that made his scalp tingle, flashing with a cold, deadly gleam. Mu Chen's hand clenched around the great Xun'er demon pillar, which immediately appeared in his grasp. He swung it backward to collide with the tail of the scorpion. Clang! A sound like metal clashing erupted, and a terrifying force swept through, directly sending Mu Chen reeling, blood spurting from his palm as the shock sent a trickle of blood from the corner of his mouth. His body was hurled backward by the overwhelming, domineering power. This creature has at least the strength of a 6th grade supreme. Mu Chen was shocked. Just a casual attack had injured him so badly. The power of this mysterious dragon scorpion was top tier, even among the various kings of the great Luo heaven domain. This contact made Mu Chen fully aware of the terrifying might of the mysterious dragon scorpion. Without hesitation, he utilized the force of the collision to propel himself forward at an even greater speed. However, the dragon scorpion continued its leisurely pursuit. No matter how fast Mu Chen accelerated, he could not shake it off. As time passed, Mu Chen's face grew grimmer. He realized the dragon scorpion seemed to be toying with him, treating him like prey. It appeared to be waiting for him to exhaust all his strength before it would make its move. Mu Chen's gaze flickered, and his killing intent began to gather. Though the dragon scorpion was powerful, it lacked intelligence. If he went all out, Mu Chen knew he had a chance to escape. However, doing so would come at a heavy cost, but at this point, he had no other choice. Mu Chen gritted his teeth, preparing to fight for his life. But just as he was about to unleash his spiritual power, the crimson magma ahead suddenly split open, and a figure shot toward him. The sudden appearance of this figure stunned Mu Chen, and as he focused on it, he froze in shock. The figure was a woman, dressed in a thin garment that exposed large portions of her flawless white skin. She had fiery red hair, and her voluptuous, sensual figure made Mu Chen's heart race, even though the situation was dire. Deep within the great Luo flame pool, a stunning beauty with fiery red hair suddenly appeared, captivating even Mu Chen for a moment. He found himself slightly dazed, and for a brief instant, his speed slowed down. As soon as Mu Chen noticed the fiery-haired beauty, she also spotted him. A look of surprise flickered across her enchanting face, but as her eyes shifted to the mysterious scorpion serpent chasing him from behind, her expression immediately changed. "Run!" Mu Chen shouted at her urgently. However, just as his words left his mouth, he stopped abruptly. His eyes were fixed on the fiery-haired beauty's rear, where the magma was suddenly torn apart. Out of the fiery chaos emerged a massive crimson serpent with 3 heads, exuding a fierce and terrifying aura. It was a 3-headed spirit flame python, and the spiritual energy fluctuations from this serpent were no weaker than the scorpion serpent trailing behind Mu Chen. In an instant, Mu Chen understood. The fiery-haired beauty, just like him, was being hunted. This is bad, Mu Chen thought, feeling hopeless. His bad luck had piled up all at once today. If it were just a scorpion serpent, he could still attempt an escape, but with the appearance of the equally terrifying 3-headed spirit flame python, he was completely helpless. The fiery-haired beauty, however, didn't share Mu Chen's pessimism. Her alluring eyes glanced at the scorpion serpent behind him. After a brief moment of thought, she suddenly darted forward and appeared directly in front of Mu Chen. An enticing fragrance hit him, and before he could even begin to become entranced by it, the stunning beauty reached out with her jade-like hand, wrapping it around his waist. With a swift motion, she disappeared without a trace. Their figures reappeared hundreds of yards away from their original location. The red-haired beauty waved her jade hand, and magma quickly gathered to form a sphere, encasing both of them entirely. Only a small gap remained, through which they kept watch on the outside. In the narrow, crimson environment, Mu Chen remained perfectly still. The woman in his arms, as close as a snake, pressed herself against him, and the soft, delicate sensations caused him to freeze up. Judging from the spiritual energy fluctuations she released when she acted earlier, Mu Chen realized that this fiery-haired woman was no ordinary person. But at that moment, the red-haired woman had no intention of paying him any attention. Her enchanting eyes remained fixed above them, where the scorpion serpent and the 3-headed spirit flame python, having lost their targets, stopped in their tracks. Their fierce gazes locked on one another. What's going on? Chen couldn't help but ask. The creature chasing you is called the flame dragon scorpion, the fiery-haired beauty answered, her gaze still fixed on the battle above. It's a dominant force in this great Luo flame pool, specializing in hunting spirit flame pythons. And that three-headed spirit flame python is the king of its kind, so they are mortal enemies. When they meet, they will fight to the death. She didn't even turn her head, continuing, "Looks like we've gotten lucky. We managed to lure them both together. Once they're both badly injured from their fight, we can slip out and pick up the spoils." The spirit flame marrow inside their bodies has been tempting me for a long time. This time, I finally have a chance to get it. Chen broke out in a cold sweat as he listened. This woman was incredibly bold, scheming to profit from their battle. "Do you think they'll notice us?" Chen asked with concern. If those two beasts focused on them, their situation would turn dire. Now that their mortal enemies have appeared, they won't be paying attention to us, the fiery-haired woman replied. Chen finally relaxed slightly, but then he felt the woman in his arms move even closer. Immediately, he shrank back, awkwardly saying, "How about I go out first? If we leave now, they'll notice us. It'll cause unnecessary problems," she said, furrowing her brows. Then, she turned to look at him, raising an eyebrow. "Are you from the great Luo Heaven Army? I've never seen you before." "I was sent here by the domain Lord to cultivate," Chen replied honestly, realizing that the fiery-haired beauty might also be from the great Luo Heaven Army. "And you are?" Chen asked carefully. "My name is Xun'er." The red-haired beauty paused briefly, then flashed a seductive smile at Chen. Chen's hand trembled when he heard the words behind him, his expression blank with surprise. Clearly, he hadn't expected the first commander of the great Luo Heaven Army to be such an alluring and enchanting beauty. "You're quite an honest little brother," Xun'er giggled, reaching out her delicate jade hand to gently pat Chen's face. But when she spoke the last sentence, it made Chen break into a cold sweat in fear. "However, if anyone else finds out about this, don't blame me for silencing them." Though Xun'er appeared to be as fiery as her name suggested, seemingly easy to approach, the danger she exuded was far greater than even Iceheart Commander. After speaking, Xun'er paid no more attention to Chen, her gaze shifting to the two colossal beasts outside that were locked in a standoff. At the same time, her soft body moved even closer to Chen. Chen painfully forced a smile, his arms stiffening to the point where he could no longer hold back. Without thinking, he subtly let his hand rest on the slim, serpentine waist of the woman in his arms. The smoothness of her skin was so soft, it almost felt irresistible. But Chen didn't dare move his hand any further. Instead, he relaxed his body and turned his gaze back to the confrontation outside. When Chen's hand made contact with her waist, Xun'er's body stiffened ever so slightly. She then glanced at him from the corner of her eye. His dark pupils seemed unexpectedly clear, which made her gradually ease up.